A man finds love letters in his girlfriend's bag and becomes dangerously jealous, not knowing they're written by her little sister as a joke. Elliot Black, a 30-year-old history teacher with a quietly obsessive personality, had never been a man prone to paranoia. With pale skin, a sharp jawline, and short brown hair that always seemed carefully combed, he appeared calm and collected to everyone around him. He lived in a quiet town called Graybridge with his 28-year-old girlfriend, Liana Crest, a warm-spirited florist with olive skin, honey blonde curls, and a radiant smile that never seemed to fade. They had been dating for 3 years, and Elliot loved her in a way that bordered on reverence. Every morning, she'd pack a small lunch bag and kiss his cheek goodbye before heading to her flower shop. One day, while searching for his keys in her tote, Elliot stumbled across a folded piece of paper that slipped out of a side pocket. It was handwritten, its edges curled and ink smudged slightly. Curiosity pried his fingers open before his conscience could protest. His heart stopped when he read, "I dreamt of your skin last night again. I miss you when he's not looking." The air left his lungs. He reread the words, again and again, each time they felt like blades. That evening, Liana returned home humming a melody, her honey blonde curls bouncing and cheeks flushed from the cold. Elliot greeted her with a smile, mechanical, stiff. Inside, however, his mind screamed. He watched her pour wine and dance barefoot in the kitchen like nothing had changed. He memorized every move, every blink, every second of what might be her lies. The note replayed in his mind like a haunting melody. He wanted to ask her, confront her, demand names. But what if she lied again? What if she was already slipping away? Instead, he kept silent, watching from across the dinner table, calculating every gesture. Liana, in her loose floral dress, laughed at something he didn't hear. He nodded in response, his fists tight under the table. That night he pretended to sleep as she curled against him, whispering how much she loved him. Elliot stared at the ceiling, listening for signs, names, movements, any slip of truth. Jealousy began its transformation. It no longer burned, it brewed, calculating, waiting. The next morning, while Liana showered, Elliot rifled through her bag again. He trembled, not from nerves, but need. If there was one note, there had to be more. And he was right. Beneath a rolled-up floral scarf, a second letter hid, this one more explicit. "Every moment I see you with him, I ache. You belong to me, not him." The words struck deeper than the first. Elliot's face darkened, pale skin flushing red. His hands shook as he clutched the letter, then folded it again with disturbing care and slipped it back into place. She was writing to someone she craved, someone not him. He stared at the bathroom door, steam trailing from beneath it, imagining her smiling at her phone, waiting for her secret lover's next message. He told himself he needed proof. He needed to know who the man was, but a darker thought crept in. Did he even want to know? Elliot began shadowing Liana's movements. He watched her from the bedroom window as she walked to her shop, noticing a man with dark hair who waved from across the street. She waved back. Was that him? Was he the one in the letters? Every man became a suspect. The delivery boy, the mailman, even her cousin, who stopped by once to borrow her car. But Liana's behavior didn't match his accusations. She remained sweet, consistent, loving. Elliot was losing grip on reality, unable to reconcile her affection with the betrayal he believed was happening. He didn't sleep. He started writing names in a notebook. Jason, Ben, mailman. Tall guy with beard. Every interaction she had, he logged. Her schedule was copied down to the minute, yet no truth came, just silence. Still, he waited, and then one day a new note appeared, different handwriting, a signature this time. Why, he gasped. Someone had finally left a mark. One Sunday, Liana invited her 16-year-old sister, Yara, to dinner. Yara was bubbly, mischievous, and always wore glitter on her eyelids. She had caramel-toned skin, a round face with dimples, and spoke in endless bursts. Elliot rarely paid her any mind, until he heard Liana joking, "Yara, stop snooping through my bag like a little spy." The blood in Elliot's veins chilled. He stared at Yara, who giggled and stuck out her tongue. "Hey, sometimes I leave surprises for you." Elliot's ears buzzed. "Surprises?" "Yeah," Yara said, sipping her lemonade. "Like random quotes or notes or dumb poems. It's just my thing." Elliot's breath hitched. "Wait," Liana laughed. "Was that you who left that fake love poem last week?" Yara howled with laughter, wiping her eyes. "Gotcha." Elliot couldn't speak. Yara had signed the note with "Why?" Elliot's world trembled. He smiled faintly through dinner, but inside, the structure of his obsessive theory began to collapse. Could it truly have been a joke, a prank, something so innocent and silly that he had twisted it into something monstrous? But the seed of doubt had grown too deep. Later that night, Liana laughed again as she mentioned how her little sister always wrote weird letters. Elliot didn't laugh with her. He studied every word, searching for inconsistencies. Was Yara covering for her? Was this a planned alibi? He tried to forget, but he couldn't. He reread the letters in his mind, clinging to their emotional tone. They weren't silly. They were passionate, too real. No teenager could write that way, he told himself. Not unless she knew something, not unless she saw something. Elliot went to the bathroom, splashed his face, and stared at himself in the mirror. His pale skin looked ghost-like, his eyes ringed in red. A man unraveling. He couldn't let it go. He needed certainty, and certainty meant finding proof, something beyond letters, something no one could fake. Elliot bought a small recorder the next day. He placed it under the couch, in the bedroom, and even beneath the kitchen sink. Anywhere Liana might talk on the phone. It was the only way to catch her in a lie. Days passed. The recordings revealed nothing. Liana talked about business, about flowers, about the new arrangements she was preparing for the mayor's wife. She chatted with Yara about school and makeup. She called her mother to ask about a family recipe. No secret phone calls, no mysterious conversations. But still, Elliot remained convinced. He began to think the notes were part of something deeper. Perhaps the affair had ended and Yara was just playing with the remnants. Or worse, Yara knew about it and was mocking him. He began to feel followed, watched. The paranoia he projected onto others now turned inward. Even Liana's smile felt rehearsed. He would have to confront them, but not yet. Elliot sat at his desk, fingers twitching over his notebook filled with names, times, and scribbled theories. He had spent weeks compiling his imagined mystery. Every moment of silence felt like a clue. He wrote a simple plan. Trap Yara, watch Liana, wait for a mistake. He decided to invite Yara over himself. He told Liana it was a surprise game night. Liana, delighted, baked brownies and laughed as she decorated the living room. Elliot didn't laugh. He was too focused. When Yara arrived, her typical glitter makeup sparkling, Elliot smiled, his face a pale mask. They played card games, ate, talked. Then Elliot dropped a carefully planned question. Do you still write love notes? Yara rolled her eyes. Don't tell me you found another one. I'm retiring from that prank life, Liana chuckled. Don't worry, he's forgiven you. Elliot stared. Forgiven? Did they think it was over? He leaned back. Maybe I still have one lying around. Yara's expression didn't change. She yawned. Either she was innocent or an incredible liar. Elliot didn't sleep that night. He lay beside Liana, staring at the ceiling, his mind repeating Yara's words. Her behavior hadn't changed. Her eyes hadn't flickered. It was maddening. The human mind seeks patterns, and Elliot's mind, now poisoned by distrust, found patterns in everything. He noticed a new shirt Liana wore and wondered who bought it. He smelled a new lotion on her skin and imagined it was a gift. By the third sleepless night, he began whispering questions to her while she slept. Do you love me? Are you hiding anything? Whose why? She never woke. He started dreaming about the letters, about discovering new ones in impossible places, in his pockets, in his food, even on his mirror. Each time he awoke drenched in sweat, unable to breathe. Love had decayed into obsession. One morning Elliot exploded, not with words but with silence so severe that it choked the room. He didn't kiss Liana goodbye, didn't say a word, just stared at her with unreadable eyes. Liana, puzzled, asked if he was feeling unwell. He shrugged. At work he barely spoke. His students noticed his pale face, the red beneath his eyes, the way he forgot what he was saying mid-lecture. Something inside him had snapped. That night Liana cooked his favorite meal, rosemary chicken, and lit candles. She wore a dress he once loved. Elliot didn't touch his food. Instead he asked, if you were cheating, would you tell me? Liana stared. What? I mean hypothetically. Her expression collapsed into confusion, then concern. Where's this coming from, Elliot? But he didn't answer. He stood up, walked into the bedroom, and locked the door behind him. Liana knew something was terribly wrong. Elliot's behavior had shifted from loving to eerie. She searched his drawers one afternoon while he was at work, trying to understand what had changed. That's when she found the notebook. Pages filled with her name, with Yara's, with others. Timelines, theories, quotes, even drawings. A chill ran down her spine. She called her sister immediately. Yara, what did you write in those stupid letters? Yara, horrified, admitted everything. She thought it was just harmless fun. I didn't think he'd, turn into a detective, Liana cried. Not from betrayal, but from fear. She didn't recognize the man she lived with anymore. That evening Liana sat Elliot down. Her hands trembled. I know what you found. He said nothing. Yara told me. The letters were a joke. She was pretending to be some dramatic secret admirer. You were never meant to see them. Elliot stared at her. And you expect me to believe that? Liana swallowed hard. I didn't know she was doing it. She signed them. Why? His voice was calm now, too calm. Yes, for Yara, because she's a teenager who doesn't know boundaries, but Elliot had passed the threshold of reason. His mind had already rewritten the truth. It didn't matter now, nothing would convince him. Liana made a decision that night. She called her mother and asked if she could stay for a few days. Elliot didn't stop her. He simply watched her pack, eyes distant. She kissed his cheek and said softly, "I love you, but you need help." He didn't answer. As she left, Elliot stared at the empty hallway. He had driven her away. Maybe that was the goal all along, a voice whispered in his head. Maybe now she'd confess, but she didn't. Days passed, no calls, no letters, only silence. Elliot stopped going to work. The house darkened. He played old voicemails from Liana and recorded his own, pretending to talk to her. He burned the letters, every last one, even the notebook. But the thoughts remained. He told himself that if she returned, he'd know. If she stayed away, it confirmed everything. It became a twisted game of absence and implication. 2 weeks later, Liana returned, with her mother and Yara. Elliot stood at the door, thinner, pale as ash, eyes sunken. They told him gently, "We're here to help, please come with us." But Elliot refused. "I don't need help, I need honesty." Liana's mother called someone, and hours later, Elliot was taken. Elliot was admitted to a quiet mental wellness facility. The diagnosis, paranoia, delusional jealousy disorder triggered by unresolved trust issues. He received therapy, medication, silence. Sometimes he asked about Liana, but she never visited. He kept waiting. One day, a nurse handed him an envelope. Inside a single note, "I still love you, but love can't survive without trust." It was her handwriting. He cried for the first time. Months passed. Elliot began to accept his illness. He read, drew, spoke in group therapy. He never stopped loving Liana, but he no longer searched for betrayal in the shadows. He understood at last that his fear had destroyed what he cherished most. A year later, Elliot returned to Greybridge, not to reclaim Liana but to begin anew. He passed her flower shop once. She was inside, laughing. He smiled quietly, sadly, and walked on. Elliot now teaches again. His lectures are calm, thoughtful. He tells students, never let imagination outweigh evidence, especially in love. But at night he still writes letters, only now they're to himself, to remind him what matters more than passion, trust. If this haunting story kept you reading, don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales of love, mystery, and the fragile edges of the human mind.